Good morning. This video will help you to be able to work in section 5.3, which is graphing. We are now going to be graphing square root functions. We need to review our transformations. So on this first screen, you can take a look at the function up at the top and just remember what all of the things are as far as making things move according to transformations. They're the same as what they've been in all of the other functions that we've had, such as with the U-shaped graph, the S-curve, the V-shaped graph, all the different ones. The minus sign out in front you can remember as flipping it up and down, flips it across the x-axis. The A will stretch or shrink. The negative inside in front of the x will flip it right or left or across the y-axis. The minus b, remember that when it's underneath the function, when it's underneath the radical sign, it's opposite direction, and we're moving right or left. When it's outside the function, not underneath the radical, we will move it up and down, and it's the same direction as the sign. So you can revert back to this if you forget which way you need to move. Let's look at the next screen, which is your order of transformations. Just remember what order we want to move things. You always move left or right, then you will flip it up and down across the x-axis, flip it across the y-axis, move it up and down, and the last thing when you go to draw will be a stretch or a shrink. And again, you can revert back to these as well. Let's do an example. When we look at the graph y equals square root x, basic ideas. We need 3 to 5 dots. The first dot will be wherever the transformations take us. In this case, we have no transformations. So our first dot is going to be located right here at the origin. Make your dots nice and big so that we can see exactly where they are. The second dot, you will move right 1 and up 1. So we go right 1 and go up 1, put our next dot. When we go to the third dot, we have to go back from the starting point. So we go back to the first one and we go right 1, 2, 3, 4, and then go up 1, 2. We draw our curve, and it continues on through those. If we had to place a fourth dot, we'd have to go square root of 9 is 3, so we would go back to our starting point and count to the right 9 dots, 9 spaces, and go up 3. Okay, let's do a transformation. Here we have a graph, y equals square root of x minus 4 plus 3. On this graph, we see two transformations. The minus 4 that's underneath the radical tells us to move opposite direction of 4. So we need to move to the right 4 units. The 3 that is outside tells us to move up or down. So we need to go the same direction as that. So we'll move up 3. So let's move right 4 and up 3. So instead of starting at the origin, we go 1, 2, 3, 4 to the right. Go up 1, 2, 3. That is our first big dot. Now, using what we've learned before, we have to know the second dot goes off of that first dot, so we're going to go to the right 1 and go up 1. That will be our second dot. Then we have to go back to this first dot. We go to the right 1, 2, 3, 4. Go up 1 and put a dot at the second place. So it's always right 1, up 1, right 4, up 2, and then we draw our curve through those 3 dots. And again, if you've got space on your graph, you can go ahead and count out 9 and go up 3 to put a fourth dot. If you have space, you could count to the right 16 and up 4 for your fifth dot. So it just depends on how much space you have on your graph. Okay, let's look at another equation. As we take a look at this one, we can see that the x plus 1 underneath the radical tells us to go opposite direction. So that means that we need to move left 1 unit. The 3 out in front, that is going to apply a stretch. If it's bigger than 1, it's a stretch. If it's smaller than 1, it's a shrink. So in this time, it has to be 3 times as tall. So let's first apply the movement right or left. So that tells us let's move left 1 unit. So if we go left 1 unit, that's going to put our first dot. Okay, now we normally go right 1, up 1, but this time we have to stretch it, make it 3 times as tall. So this time we're going to actually go up 1, 2, 3, and make it 3 times as tall as the first graph. Go back to the starting point. We now have to move to the right 1, 2, 3, 4. We have to go up twice as tall, so we actually have to go up 3 times as tall. We're going up 6, so 3 times 2. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and we put our dot up here. So again, just looking at this, we went right 1. We had to go up 3 times as high, so 3 times 1, we went up 3 units. For our third dot, we had to go to the right 4 units, and we had to go up 3 times as high as we normally do, which is 2, so 3 times 2 told us to go up 6. We then can draw our graph, and you can see how much taller that graph is. Okay, we got one more example. Let's take a look at this one. We've got a lot of transformations in this one. You can see we have a minus sign out in front of the radical. That tells you to flip it across the x-axis. The minus 1 inside tells you to move right 1 because it's opposite direction. The 3 after the radical tells us to move up 3 units. So we'll go back to your order of transformations. We know that we have to do right or left first. So we're going to start at where we normally at the origin. We're going to move right 1 unit. Now, we next have to flip it over. So now our curve is actually going to go down to the right instead of up to the right because we flipped it upside down. We have to move up 3 units. So we go up 1, 2, 3. We put down our first dot. Now, to gain our second, third, and fourth dots, what we'll do, remember the graph is upside down. So now we're going to move from our dot, we'll move right 1 unit and go down 1 unit. Gain our third dot, we're going to go back to the order or where we started, go to the right 1, 2, 3, 4. This time we have to go down 2 units. So if we go down 2 units, again, you can see we normally go up, but the graph had been flipped upside down. So we went right 1, down 1, right 4, down 2. If we had more room, we could go right 9, down 3. Let's draw our curve, and we have our graph. Today you're going to be practicing on the worksheets. Let me know if you have any problems.